Please listen to the disclaimer at the end of this podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to NAA Cafecito, Our Stories. If you can't tell by the guayabera, I am doing this from sunny San Juan, Puerto Rico, as part of the NAA International Symposium. My name is Gerson, and I am your host for today's Cafecito. This podcast is intended to tell the personal and professional stories and journeys of our guests and members of the broader NAA ecosystem, with a focus on really telling you or having you hear what you wouldn't hear in a business meeting or a pitch. I've been a member of the organization since 2007, an organization that was founded in 1999 and that for 26 years has been advocating for access to capital, underpinned by the view and the mission that American success is going to be driven by American Latino success. So it is my pleasure today for today's Cafecito to sit down with Miguel Silva of CalPERS, known to some of us as Mike, but you'll hear a little bit about that as we get into the conversation. Let's get to it. So, Miguel, I've known you a long time. You're an associate investment manager at CalPERS. I'm probably guilty, as many investment managers are trying to corner you at a conference and give you the pitch, but I've gotten to know you over the years. You're a native of San Diego. You're now in Sacramento because that's where CalPERS is. But let's take it back to the beginning. Tell us about your background, your roots.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Happy to sit down with you and have a little cafecito
Great.
and share a little bit about my background. So born and raised in San Diego, Portuguese descent. Both of my parents are from Madeira, Portugal.
Yeah.
In the 60s and 70s, there was a migration, a communist scare in Portugal.
Yeah.
And, there was just a lack of opportunity. So a lot of Portuguese migrated to countries like the United States. And I grew up in a Portuguese community called Point Loma.
Yep.
And that's my first language. So I'm English second language. I also speak Spanish, or try to speak Spanish.
California,
California.
first or second language. I'm not quite sure which one's winning these days.
I took a lot of Spanish classes growing up. I'd say through 7th grade, all the way through 12th grade, including college as well. So I understand all of it and speak it pretty good.
Nice. UC Davis. You graduated from UC Davis.
Yes. So then I moved to UC Davis, got into public affairs as well and public relations. My first state gig was with the California Department of Insurance.
Oh.
And I was a deputy press secretary. And actually, when 9/11 hit, I was representing the organization at the time, and was even my cousins in Venezuela saw me on a show called Aquí y Ahora.
Okay.
Because I was doing the Spanish-speaking representative as well, and talking about how the implications of the 9/11 disaster or terrorist attack implicated insurance costs here in California and could impact that. So worked there, decided that the money in state work wasn't ready for me, or I wasn't ready for that.
I get that.
So I transitioned into commercial real estate.
Okay.
And at first I went to work for the broker of the year in Sacramento. His name was Randy Getz at CB Richard Ellis. Worked with him for a year. He had like a 3 to 4 year plan, but I said, hey, I only need a year. I'm me.
Yeah, I am.
So I had a lot of confidence in myself. And that confidence, I had a lot of confidence. I went to work for Marcus and Millichap.
Okay.
And, it was tough times because I did a loan against commission, future commissions. And I went 15 months without making any money. So I remember I was calculating at the time, every day I went to work.
What it was costing you.
Selling costs $67, and that was a big deal at the time. And I'd say, I don't know how it happened, because I think back now, how I convinced someone I have no experience selling, office buildings.
Right.
And I was able to convince someone for my first listing to have an $8 million listing. And, I sold at record prices. And then all of the work I had done the year and a half previously just started.
Yeah, you got to get that first win.
You got to get that first win. Yeah. And I had a very successful career in commercial real estate, transacted over $150 million of acquisitions and dispositions, representing clients as a broker. But I learned quickly that even then the money wasn't good enough. And I wanted to get on the other side.
Okay.
So I started my own entrepreneurial efforts, raising money. So you could say I raised $2 million.
You were on the other side of the cat, so to speak. Tin cup.
Tin cup. I did. I was a emerging and diverse manager in real estate. I mean, not much. I raised $2 million. Bought a retail strip center in Davis, California.
Okay.
And a medical office building, 20,000 square foot.
What year was this? Just to provide some context to the listeners.
I'm pretty proud of this because I purchased the medical office, 20,000 square foot medical office in 2006, and the strip center in 2007 at the height of the market, just before.
Yeah. You ever had to time it?
I knew how to time it. You know what I say? Buy high. But I'm particularly proud of that because I believe it was somewhere between 70 and 80% of the properties that were purchased during that time frame went back, to the bank, were lost. And I was able to hold on to those. Part of it was we had a 40-year amortization tied to LIBOR.
Yeah.
And that really helped for both my properties. But, guess who negotiated?
Yeah.
So I was able to sell both those properties at a profit and return cash flow and
defending the principle for your investors. That was key during those days, right? And hey, good for you. You turned a profit. I mean,
I think that has helped me so much because I learned the fiduciary responsibility.
That's right.
And what it takes. And these are the money that I had gathered was from close personal friends, their parents.
Right.
And that responsibility of being a steward of their capital, weighed heavily on me, especially during those difficult financial times. So, we talk about.
They probably had their own financial challenges as well.
Absolutely.
Right? I grew up in California. Folks are in Modesto. I know what happened to the housing market. And so, man, between their net worth tied up in their houses and then this investment they made with you, no pressure.
It was scary times. But, we were able to get out of it. But one thing I came out of that with was, so here we are in 2009. Again, I'm back to not making any money. So now, I'd started this career in 2000. Now it's 2009, back to not making any money. And I had to transition into something different because, the funny thing about real estate, they call it like a cowboy business, but there's a lot of young folks and a lot of old folks. And I could never figure it out until that crisis because the middle-aged people can't make it through. They can't make it through all of those cyclical periods. They have to write it out. And they just say, hey, there's only a few can make it. And I made the transition to move away from real estate because I couldn't wait it out for 5 years. And I transitioned into financial advisory services and did that for 2 years. And now
that's also, that's not quite shaking the tin cup.
No, it's worse. It's worse. You know what? I have PTSD from that experience.
Well, there's going to be a few RIAs at the symposium, so
I have a lot of respect for those folks because it is a difficult job, but it just did not resonate with me. I like to look at investments as instruments, and I have to feel good about it. It's not a sell to me; it's an investment to me, and that's more like pushing product, and that just didn't resonate. And lo and behold, I had a friend in CalPERS in the investment office, and he was trying to, he was saying, hey, you should come and apply here, work here. And as I was applying to a position, I found another position, and this other position, they were looking for someone who had public affairs experience, who understood legislation, but had both public and private investment experience. So my work in public affairs, as well as my work as in the financial advisory and in the real estate, dovetailed really nicely for this role because, emerging managers, it is, somewhat political. There are political components of it. And in this case, in 2011, there had just been legislation, the CalPERS 5-year plan. And so they were looking for someone like me to represent the organization and lead for the emerging manager strategies, as well as liaise between stakeholder groups, managers, and internally advocate for programs. So I don't know,
it's a large plan. You got to manage a lot of stakeholders.
Correct. And I think I was pretty unhappy doing the work that I was doing. And, you know, it was heaven sent, this opportunity. So I was really grateful to be working at the time. When I first got on with CalPERS, was so grateful to get this role.
Well, look, having been around in the emerging manager ecosystem as long as I have, you've been a strong advocate for emerging managers. So thank you on behalf of myself and many of those emerging managers. Let's go back a little bit on the personal history, though, because I think the audience is going to want to have a little clarity. Miguel or Mike? I think I met you originally as Mike, or you were introduced as Mike.
Sure. Look, that's a great question. So my first name, I'm going to throw a little curveball here.
Okay.
It's actually Miguel Angelo. My father named me after Michelangelo. He was an artist himself.
I'm going to have to use that later tonight over drinks. Yeah.
And so everyone in high school, you know, and all through grade school, high school, and even college knew me as Miguel. But when I graduated, this was, you know, in 1995 from college.
Yeah.
I didn't think Miguel, I thought Michael would get his resume pulled at a higher percentage than Miguel Angelo.
Right, Gershon as a first name. So
so I made the decision to go with Michael. Okay. I think there's been a lot of progress made over the last 32 years. That's what we're talking about, 30, 32, 31 years. But even today, I still think, you know, there's still a bias against a name like that. And so when I say a name like that, but I mean it like, you know, there's bias against it. So I went with Miguel, and then I went with Michael, and I was having a conversation with our CEO, Marcy Frost, and the head of our board, Teresa Taylor. And they asked me the same question you asked me. They're like, so why does your LinkedIn say Miguel, but you go by Michael? And I told them the story, and both Marcy and Teresa encouraged me. So I decided to go to the name that everyone knows me as.
So you grew up being called Miguel or Miguel?
Both. I grew up in Miguel, not Miguel Angelo.
Yeah.
I mean that's just too much. But Miguel, that was like everybody in grade school, because, you know, when you show up to class,
right,
and the teacher, in every single year, it was Miguel. I mean,
even in San Diego?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? I mean
because
it was like, you know,
we're talking, but this is late 70s.
Wow.
And you don't have like,
that's wild.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Wow.
I'm aging myself here. You know, it was Miguel, and I would be sitting there like waiting for the Miguel thing every year. I'd raise my hand, correct that. But yeah, that was my name. Wow. So and it's still my name. But, you know, the reality is, if you know me as Mike, and you know me as Michael, you know me as Miguel, call me whatever. Just don't call me a jerk. But most of my friends call me Silva.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, they go with a strong Portuguese name.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. All right. So bringing it back to, you've been at CalPERS now 13 years. You attend a lot of these events. You speak at a lot of conferences. You've gotten to see emerging managers that have succeeded, those that haven't. What would you say to someone that is out right now trying to raise capital for a first fund?
You know, that's a great question. It's something I'm asked about frequently. I think you know, without killing off the hope, you know, managers need to understand the landscape. They need to understand there's unfortunately, I meet so many good managers, but there's not enough capital to commit to the number of good managers that I've met. So that's the first thing, is that they really need to understand the landscape and need to understand who's deploying the capital, who's in charge of deploying the capital, and how it's deployed and why. All too often, I find managers are looking for shortcuts. Certainly, I am a shortcut. Come talk to me. I'll tell you what's going on with CalPERS. At the same time, when managers do that, and they're not watching, you know, our investment committee meetings, which is placed on the World Wide Web on the YouTube, and they're not listening.
A public entity. I mean, every piece of information about the CalPERS portfolio is on the website.
Correct. So if I'm a private equity emerging manager, I'm watching Anton Orlich
Mm-hmm.
present to the board several times a year, and I'm trying to better understand
That's right.
what the program is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I also present to the board on emerging manager initiatives, trying to better understand the program,
Right.
going to the website, understand how it works, understand who the allocators are,
Yeah.
right? Who the intermediaries are, what the asset class is looking for. More often than not, I see that level of research is not happening.
Which is surprising because now with AI, right? It's not like you need to sit through hours and hours of trustee information. You could just like download it, feed it, and query it.
Bro, amigo, if you're asking for $30 to $50 million,
Do the work.
do the work.
Yeah, that's right.
Do the work.
Yeah.
And so, the first thing that I would say is do the work,
Yeah.
do the research. And so when you sit down with me, we can have a more intelligent conversation. Right. Otherwise, if I'm just giving you the information from the stuff that's on the internet, I'm developing an opinion.
Right.
And there's a limited amount of time. If I try to give every single manager the same amount of respect and energy and commitment. But that only translates to about 30 minutes.
Right. Oh, plus also, at the end of the day, I think the mistake that a lot of first-time fundraisers, let's not even say first-time funds, make is there's a program, there's a process, they're talking to you. You're not the final arbiter of an allocation decision, right? So on that topic, you were instrumental and part of a bigger team that put together this program that now has funded GCM, Elevate, and TPG Next. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, that was in 2023, January. CalPERS announced $1 billion, $500 million each to GCM, the Elevate team, and to TPG, the Next team. And it's a seeding and staking platform. Managers, they're looking for managers, mostly in that lower to middle market space, doing commitments generally between $75 to $150 million. We're certainly we're looking for a seed, we're looking to get a stake to get a return, either through the firm or the fund or the management of the fund. If you do the math, $75 to $150 million out of $1 billion. Conversely, when you look at what, the CalPERS private equity team is doing, led by Anton Orlich, he's here at this conference, nobody's investing with emerging managers and diverse managers at the level and pace that he's doing.
That's right.
$21 billion in the last 3 years to diverse managers, $6 billion to emerging managers. And on top of that, number one returns. It was just announced a couple days ago, over 14% returns in private equity. And I don't know where we ranked 3 years ago, but I think it was in the lower 20s. Okay. And we rank number one right now.
Wow.
And why is he investing with so many emerging and diverse managers? It's strategic. He strategically made the decision to pivot into that middle market space where managers are more uniquely positioned to, drive returns and generate alpha. And, a lot of those great returns that we're seeing are from emerging and diverse managers.
Definitely, you're speaking to the choir here, but glad it's coming from you. Again, back to the opening intro, the NA has been at the forefront for 26 years of advocating for access to capital. Now, I know you're a big Padres fan.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have a little fun with this. No, don't worry. I'm not bringing up the latest season. But if someone were to show up with a Dodgers or a Giants hat or jersey at the event, like who's going to get the biggest grief here?
It's going to be the Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
I don't know. Do you know June Kim?
Yes.
So June was recently hired by CalPERS, and she's a big Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
So I haven't been in the office.
I haven't had a chance to, give her the congratulations on the promotion. Maybe we'll get her on the couch.
That's the only congratulations she'll be getting from me. She's not going to be getting any Dodger congratulations, that's for sure.
Excellent. All right, so we're coming towards the end of the podcast here. While one day I hope the answer is NA Cafecito as your favorite podcast, maybe you can talk a little bit about, a podcast you follow or
Sure.
do.
I like the podcasts out there. I'd say Plain English with Derek Thompson
Okay.
is really sharp. I mean, I love the topics that he brings up, and he looks at everything very fairly,
Okay.
and has great guests that provide really good
So
information.
just different topics or
Different topics. A lot of them, I think, are, topical in the sense of like politics,
Yep.
the economy. But other ones that I listen to, the Ezra Klein show.
Yeah.
I think he's New York Times
Yeah.
guy. Peter Attia,
Okay.
who's just incredible in terms of if you're looking to live a healthier lifestyle.
Okay.
The Huberman Lab, that's a very dense podcast.
But fascinating. I mean, just really digging into the science and health, and so.
Ironically, I haven't found a good sports podcast.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's because you know too much.
I know too much.
Yeah, you're too judgmental. It's
And
like it's like listening to morning talk radio.
And that makes me think, well, are these other podcasts that I'm listening to, are these guys know what they're talking about? Because on the sports ones, I'm like, no, I don't know about that. I'll challenge you on that.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right.
But I do listen to a few I won't recommend the All In podcast.
Okay.
But I do listen to them because when they're not talking politics, they're talking about, venture and technology, and that's what I'm interested in. But that's another one that I'd listen to.
Look, I think the podcast format, lends itself to long form if you want to really dig in like Huberman, right? Or small, like Cafecito, our stories. But Mike, thank you very much. Look, I called you Mike. Miguel, I'm just calling you. Thank you for joining us today on NA Cafecito, our stories. And to our listeners, please follow us, like us, share the podcast. And until next time, hasta la próxima.
Hang loose.
This podcast should not be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced in whole or in part. The information contained in this podcast does not constitute a recommendation from the New America Alliance, the host, or guests to any listener. The terms NAA or New American Alliance may refer to any one or more entities associated with the NAA. Neither the NAA, host, or guests, nor any of their respective affiliates or employers make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information contained in this podcast.